Hi, people watching this video, if that's anyone at all. We're in the beginning here, so we don't know how these videos are going to go. So I wanted to come on and kind of speak to some themes that have been coming up and circling around in my sphere in the last week or so. And I guess I'll just kind of open with the phrase or quote that is circling around on the internet that has really been resonating with me. And I don't think it has a quote, like has a credited person that has quoted it. So I think it's unknown, but if I'm mistaken and I'm stealing someone's quote, I'm so very sorry. I'm not directly stealing it because 100% it's not mine. Anyways, we'll just get to it. The quote is something along the lines of, "The universe will never give you peace in something that you were not meant to settle in." And that's something that has just been really, really loud and resonant for me lately. And I've also seen it coming up in a lot of the clients that I work with. And I think where we're seeing it come up most is in relationships. Absolutely, this is something that happens in careers as well. But relationships are really a place where relationships are so delicate, and they're really beautiful mirrors for who we are and what's unhealed within us, or what needs attention within us, or what is something maybe in the shadows out of our awareness that isn't brought up to the surface, isn't in the light, isn't in our conscious awareness. And so we see that in other people reflected back, and oftentimes it starts to feel like a tension. It starts to feel like a disharmony, a disharmonic resonance. And it's really never about the other person. It's really about you coming to understand, what is it that I really want and desire here? What is it that I define as a healthy relationship? Whether that's a familial relationship, a friendship, a romantic relationship, doesn't matter. But just getting really clear on, what is it that I want and what is it that I need in relationship that fuels me and helps me be the best version of myself, be fulfilled, be happy, be connected in that space. And so I think we're starting to see on a collective level where maybe we have entered into unions, into partnerships, into friendships, relationships, where maybe some time ago, whether that's 2 years ago or 5 years ago or 25 years ago, maybe there was a greater awareness and there was something to be served there. And now, as we're going more and more into this ascension process, people are starting to wake up and starting to recognize, oh, actually, I don't really think that the way that we're playing this relationship dynamic is actually serving me anymore, is actually helping me to feel like I can show up as my best version of myself and helping me to fuel that destination that I'm wanting to go to. Even if that's just to feel happy and fulfilled in a relationship. And so it's calling us to really look at, just all of the things, kind of like I said earlier. How do we define relationships? What do we really value in relationships? What do we value in ourselves, right? Again, relationships are a mirror. And so it's this deep recognition and care for who you are and how you're showing up and the work that you're doing on yourself, is that also true of the people that you spend your time with, which has a really big influence on you as a being. And so, yeah, just something that's really loud. Even me and my own personal relationships, I'm kind of starting to look at and have to get really clear on, you know, there's certain expectations and standards that I'm discovering that I have about myself and about my relationships that honestly I didn't even know that I really had. Even after like my experience of going through my marriage and then coming out the other side, and like even still, even in relationships that I'm forming in the last couple of years, even what served me 2 years ago doesn't serve me now. There's a whole other energy that we're playing with this year, especially 2024, that, let's see how many more times I could say I just caught myself in my head saying a few times in a row. Great filler word. So is All right, back to the point. So Gaia is ascending. Gaia is moving into fifth dimensional unity consciousness, and we, all of the little baby cells, humanity, part of her, part of that macro body, we are the micro version, we are the cells of Gaia, are also being called to be in alignment with her as she goes through her own ascension journey. And there's a really symbiotic relationship there. And so everyone is being called to look at what is in resonance, what is in harmony for them, and on this more macro scale with Mother Earth. And everyone is playing, it's a choose your own adventure kind of situation. Everyone gets to choose if they want to go in that direction or if they don't want to go in that direction. There's no rules really. And so, you know, again, as this comes down to a micro level in our own lives, that's where we're seeing a lot of this is coming up, and this is where I'm seeing it collectively, myself and also in a lot of my clients, is around, are these relationships that you're in various domains and career, it's everything. It's not just relationships. It just feels really loud this month, I think, around relationships. But are the people that are in your closest sphere willing to understand that you have boundaries, understand that you have limits, understand that you have needs? Are they willing to grow with you in the relationship and in the direction that you're wanting to grow and with the work that you're doing? And are they matching that and staying in resonance with you throughout this ascension journey? Or are they maybe not, which is not a bad thing, right? There's no judgment there, but it gets to be a judgment call for you in terms of whether you want to, it's serving you to be in that relationship if someone's not open and willing to evolve the dynamic of your relationship in the way that you're needing, because you have grown and evolved as you've been in that relationship. And so, you know, on some levels, it's kind of basic stuff, right? Basic in that people grow and evolve. And anytime that you have a long-term relationship, you're going to be a different person throughout that relationship because we naturally mature as we age. We naturally grow into ourselves more. And so being in a relationship with someone is, hopefully they're also kind of on that path, but everyone gets to choose their own journey again. So that's kind of what I wanted to touch on. So to maybe make this something that's practical I think that, again, coming from the concept of everything around you is just a mirror of your internal experience, trying to figure out what this looks like for you is an inside job, like everything. So I think the first thing is, whatever relationship you're in, or even if this is showing up in your career, if you're feeling like there's a tension and you're not, your career is not really serving you anymore, or your role or whatever, starting to come in and start with definitions. So in this moment, how do you define a healthy relationship? How do you define a healthy romantic relationship, a healthy friendship, a healthy familial relationship? What are the values that you value? Yay, words. What are the attributes and characteristics that you value in these spaces? And how do you define that, right? Everyone has their own definition of success, of happy, of healthy. What I deem as healthy or balanced might not be what you deem as healthy or balanced. And so it's really for you to define, what does that look like? What does that look like now? It might not have even looked like that 6 months ago for you. But now, what's there? What's present? I'm just going to throw out some things that are present for me that may or may not resonate with you. First, leading with love. So I found that I've even had to define, what does love mean to me? What is that? Because there's a point in time where I really didn't have a definition of that. And I still don't think I have a definition of it. But I came to the point that I realized that I believe that love is not just this like ooey gooey, warm and fuzzy, always happy, always like, I don't know, rainbows and sunshines kind of thing. Like that's kind of what I've always associated love, like big hearts, big pink, like pink and red, and I don't know, this is not very descriptive, but hopefully it's making sense to anybody listening to this. Just all kind of positive. And the more that I've grown and the more that I've matured and the more that I've reflected on this, I've come to understand, for me, there's so much more to it. Like love, unconditional love, is actually the acceptance of all of it. It's the acceptance that we are innately flawed by being human. Like, perfectly flawed, but flawed nonetheless. Like, we're having this experience not outside of source, but as just a wee baby part of source. And so we're in separation. And so that innately means that there's flaws. Anyways, little tangent there. So part of that means that we are in duality. There is darkness here present. And like darkness just meaning like there are negative aspects to being a human, that, just several things, right? We have emotions like anxiety and depression and anger and frustration and stress and, on and on, grief, on and on it goes, and jealousy, envy. And so I think that, the idea, like if I think about it from a source perspective, like source is everything, right? So source is that yin and yang. Source is, yes, there's darkness and there's light, and both are absolutely necessary to be whole and to play the game that we're playing. And so love then is, for me, is being willing to be really vulnerable and authentic with your partner and say, hey, I don't think that you're dealing with what you've got going on here in a way that is conducive to our relationship being as full as it could be. And I think that, there's an opportunity for you to reflect on what that might look like. And for a really long time, I was coming from the perspective of, well, everyone's on their own journey. And so, like, if they don't feel like they have to look at certain things, then they don't. And that's still true, but I was using that as a reason to not ask for what I needed in my relationship. And so as I was reflecting on how do I define love, and I was reflecting on, like, in a healthy relationship for me, there's this component of we are each witnessing each other on our journeys, but also holding space and creating a safe container within the relationship where we push push is not the right word, but we hold this space for the version of ourselves, the version of our life, individually and collectively as a partnership that we want. And so that means for me that if I'm seeing my partner not doing something that is going to help them reach their full potential, and then thus our relationship reach its full potential, then love means saying that and calling that out and not just avoiding it and being like, oh, well, they're just not a good fit, like, peace, I'm out. Like, it means, like, actually saying, like, hey, this isn't a judgment, or this isn't a, you absolutely get to choose what you want here, but here's what I'm noticing. What do you think? And that's a lot scarier to do than, it takes courage and bravery to say that, I think. And it also just takes a willingness to have hard conversations. And that's what love is. That's what, witnessing someone as they're going through and having this human experience, being able to ask for what you need and ask for what you want and call your partner. Again, this is just my perspective, but call your partner out if they're not being the best version of themselves and they have something going on, or maybe they don't have something going on, because part of this is just awareness too. And everyone is on their own soul journey, so everyone is different. But again, at least giving them the opportunity to say, hey, I think there's more here. Do you want to step into the more, or are you good, like Jay chillin'? So, looking at your definitions of love, of a healthy relationship, tuning into your desires. I think there's this concept of, well, no relationship is perfect, and so, I should just stay here and kind of struggle through it and put up with it. And, this doesn't look like what I kind of imagined or always thought it would be. But nothing's perfect, so, like, I'm just going to stay here. And there's, like, a little bit of denial or a little bit of repressed desire in that, I think. And so really being honest with yourself and clear on what your definitions are can help you to understand first what your needs are, because you have an idea and you've articulated for yourself what your values are, how you define those values, how you define and articulate what's most important to you in a relationship or in a career or any other domain. This could also apply as a parent. And really, nope, I lost my train of thought now. Really getting clear, just getting clarity by tuning in to your heart space, tuning into your desires, being honest with yourself, creating a safe container for yourself where you can really come into a reflection and saying, okay, maybe this looked different now or looked different in the past. Even like I said, even 6 months ago, but certainly 2 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago, it can look different now. It's allowed to look different. You've lived through all of this experience, and trust what's present for you now, because there's been a lot going on a collective level, on a planetary level, on just a general humanity awakening level that is coming into this place of, we're coming into love, harmony, resonance, balance, sovereignty, joy. I'm not gonna lie, I'm not the best at joy. I kind of always forget that one. But that's the feeling experience that we're coming into that is, resonating in harmony, that is resonating in unity, that is resonating in reciprocity, right? This equal and even exchange. It's not that it has to be that way every single day of your relationship, but on a majority level scale, it should feel reciprocal. You should feel like you're getting in the relationship what you're putting into the relationship. And if you don't feel that way, there's a disharmony there, then there's probably work for you to come in and say, is this, where are my needs not getting met? And how can I communicate those needs to my partner and ask for those needs to be met, and ask if they're willing and able to rise to the occasion and meet those needs. And if they're not, well, then that's a different conversation, right? But it's for you first to identify and articulate for yourself first what that looks like, so that then you can give your partner the opportunity to, again, rise to the occasion, get to know you on a deeper level, get to know you on a more intimate level, know how to care for you better, and vice versa, right? And so, yeah, I think I'll kind of pause there. Maybe I'll just end with, again, the universe will never give you peace in something that you're never meant to settle in. So I'm not going to end there. I'm actually going to elaborate on how that lands for me. I think that there's several areas of my life where I don't necessarily feel peace in. And for a really long time, I internalized that as something's wrong with me, or I'm not doing something, I'm not fitting into someone else's box, right? And so like, I need to change the shape of me, or I need to adjust something about me. And what I came to realize was, actually, no, like, this doesn't feel peaceful because I'm not meant to be in this box, because this box doesn't fit me. And so I need to go find a box, or just no box at all, that feels like it's more aligned, more in harmony, more in resonance with where I'm at, with what's important to me, with how I show up, with the ideals that I live by. So again, very important in relationships, very important in your career. It's important in the aspects of your life that take up the most time and energy. Those are the places to be kind of doing this audit check. And if you're in a space where you don't have a majority peaceful experience, So if it's like for the most part is causing you anxiety and stress or depression or low energy or takes too much energy, etc., those are opportunities for you to maybe take this quote and sit with this quote and ask yourself, like, am I really meant to settle here? Am I really meant to continue to be in this space that doesn't feel peaceful, doesn't feel aligned, doesn't feel in harmony, doesn't feel as energy giving as I'm giving to it, reciprocal. And so again, tuning into you, tuning into how do you define joy in that area? How do you define health in that area? What does that look like for you? Start there. Thanks for listening. I hope this was, I don't know, I hope this landed how it needed to for anyone that watched. And if you did watch, thank you. If you watch this video and you're like in the internet world and I don't know who you are, I would love to know who you are, especially if you're drawn to this. So yeah, let's talk. I have my social info on the bits. So on the, I don't know, description, I think that's where it goes. I'm new to YouTube. So, anyways, Instagram or commenting, I guess, it's the internet. It's easy to communicate. So I would love to hear from you. Anyways, other than that, I hope you have a fabulous day or evening or morning or wherever you're at in time continuum. Sending so much love to wherever you are.